Larry Hoover from the Gangsta Disciple was on the intro of the album. And, anyway, I decided to call the Fox News affiliate out there. And I said, the Geto Boys are here in town, and, this is a big city for them. And I explained they were a platinum-selling, hip-hop group, and they knew who they were when I called Fox. And I said, would you like to come down to the hotel and interview them tomorrow? And I said, oh, by the way, there's a cat on the album named Larry Hoover, and he had a sentence for 200 years, 200 consecutive years, I believe it was, or 2 consecutive lifetimes, or whichever equated more. And,
crazy amount.
Yeah. I met his wife, Wendy, and she was a very lovely person, by the way, very intelligent woman. And anyway, they were like, Fox was like, how did you get Larry Hoover on the album? He's locked up, maximum security, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, he's on the album. And so anyway, they came down to do the interview. And I remember at one point, at the end of the interview, I said, oh, by the way, you might want to let your Mayor Daley know that, Larry Hoover's on the album. So anyway, that night we were working on this. The guys had done an interview with MTV that day from the back of a hearse for MTV, from the back of a hearse. But we were at a funeral home, and I'll explain that in a minute. But we were at this funeral home watching TV, and all of a sudden the Mayor Daley comes on TV railing about the Geto Boys album and how dare they, And then Bushwick was like, how dare you have an Al Capone museum? And then that ended up getting quite a bit of press because Bill threw it back at them, well, look at you. You're promoting
fella. He threw it right back at him.
Yeah. And so we ended up putting a press release out about that. But what was beautiful was the fans in Chicago. That was really beautiful. The fans were really beautiful. We were at the funeral home hanging out. It was actually quite funny because we had a beautiful promotion. With sounds, whenever a new album comes out for the charts, the album comes out on Tuesday. Well, people started moving it up and releasing albums at like midnight with these midnight Monday night promotions, that at 12:01 the promotion starts, so it's technically Tuesday. And there was George's Record Room is a very famous record store in Chicago.
George's Music Room. Oh, yeah, that's a staple in Chicago.
Yeah, this place is like very famous record store. And George, amazing man. Anyway, very supportive of artists in our business. And anyway, the kids were lined up at midnight, long line going around the block to meet the Geto Boys.